Welcome to SCLC today. We're so happy that you join us again. Promise you one thing, not going to be too long, but we want to talk about a great experience and a great reenactment that we had this weekend. Man, what a time to be in Selma, Alabama this past weekend. And we are continuously marching toward Montgomery. I'll be leaving here this afternoon or tomorrow at the latest to join the march, and we will culminate in Montgomery. But guess what? We had Vice President Kamala Harris. We had the Vice President, and we had a one-on-one with her, along with other leaders in the civil rights movement. She gave us that 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 minute. But I had at least 3 minutes with her, and she said, "Charles, what's on your mind?" And I began to talk. You know, we talked about the Russia-Ukrainian situation. We talked about the executive order of the 1965 Voter Rights Act should be restored. And guess what? She told one of her assistants to work with me. You know, the Emancipation Proclamation was done through executive order. Hello? We wouldn't talk that in school. I don't care what school you went to. We would talk Abraham Lincoln freed the slave. It was through an executive order. Even with blacks getting, with Harry Truman, President Harry Truman, to get contracts from the Department of Defense. That was through an executive order, ladies and gentlemen. You have power when you're in the seat of being the president of the United States of America. And we were so happy to see so many people. Ladies and gentlemen, it was very hot. And the people sat there and stood there. Those who were not sitting, most stood. And I'm sorry to say, saddened to say, some people actually fell out because of the sun. But they wanted to be there. They wanted to make history. And hopefully the Secret Service folks learned something. You know, the Secret Service come down to Selma and say, "We got a job to do." Yeah, well, you need to know the history of Selma. Why Selma came to the realization of getting the 1965 Voter Rights Act. And remember the name Jimmy Lee Jackson. People forget to talk about Jimmy Lee Jackson, who was murdered, slaughtered, killed by the Alabama State Troopers. Jimmy Lee Jackson, because he was trying to protect his mother, his grandmother, and grandfather in what we call, when I was growing up, the cafe, the juke joint, where they sold hamburgers, cheeseburgers, French fries. They ran in there when the police officer, the state troopers, was approaching them with billy clubs. And when one of the state troopers tried to hit Jimmy Lee Jackson, grandmother and grandfather and mother, he got in the way and blocked the blow, and they shot him. And 4 or 5 days later, he died. The nurse of Jimmy Lee Jackson at that time was also in the march. Ladies and gentlemen, historically, we must continuously reenact, but we got to also act. We have to be proactive and understand the kingdom philosophy, gather the information, understand what's going on. That's what's wrong with Russia. Let me tell you a little something about Moscow, Russia. In case you haven't been there, I have. We're talking about the humanity aspect of the world. I've been to Moscow, Russia. I've been to Kyiv, Ukraine. I know the people there. I know President Barack Obama, as well as I know the former President Mikhail Gorbachev and President Biden. But it was President Gorbachev. It was President Gorbachev that knocked down the Berlin Wall. Perestroika, a democratic form of government, was implemented through former President Mikhail Gorbachev. And I asked him the question, Mr. Gorbachev, this was 1989 when the wall came down. What gave you the courage to knock that wall down? He said, "Oh, it was Dr. Martin Luther King Jr." I say, "What?" He said, "Yes, it was September the 13th, 1964. I finished high school in 1964. He said, "I was at Sophia Lutheran Church. I've spoken there about 4 or 5 times. He said, "And I heard Dr. King said, no man built wall can separate God from his children. Did you hear me, ladies and gentlemen? He said it's going to take peace, love, and harmonious working relationship to come together of all background of people, ethnicity, and human concerns. We must come together. I said, Mr. President, former President Gorbachev, are you telling me you was in the audience? You're not going to get this in no books here in America. It wasn't taught in our history books. It was about former President Ronald Reagan. Mr. Gorbachev, tear that wall down. I asked former President Gorbachev about that. He said, I didn't listen to President Ronald Reagan because I knew he was an actor before he became president. I didn't believe nothing he said. He said it was Martin Luther King Jr. when he said, no man built wall can separate God from his children. I said, but Mr. President, didn't you say that happened September the 13th, 1964? And I'm asking the question, were you in the audience? He said, no, I worked for the KBG. I was eavesdropping. And I was listening to everything he said. That was my job. He said the wall came down in 1989. The wall came down in 1989, but it never left me from 1964, September the 13th, when I heard him make that statement. He said, I believe in peace and harmonious working relationship. He said, are you familiar with perestroika? That was his form of democracy. That's why President Putin is trying to take over Ukraine as well as the rest of the world. It's bigger than Ukraine, y'all. He want to take over the world. You need to know that. And he trying to disrupt the progress of democracy that former President Mikhail Gorbachev created with perestroika. They're looking at the Ukrainians and how successful they are in a democratic society, democracy. And the Russian people are good people. Many of them don't even understand what's going on because they don't have the freedom of the press. You need to know this. People are good all over the world, but a bad leader can spoil everything and ultimately will be destroyed themselves. So I close. The gas prices is up. We have to sacrifice. Yeah, they're up, but we're sacrificing for a great reason. You must understand that this too shall come to pass. And that leader, and I won't call his name no more, that leader that's killing and bringing about violence to families, to children, I mean innocent children and women and families, destroying them, it's no way that this person can exist much longer. You must always remember that God is still on the throne. He's still there. And he's always going to do what's right. He allows certain things for us to understand that he's almighty and he's all God. And we believe in the Holy Ghost, the Trinity, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost. We will survive. Thank you.